Well, on Sunday Night Football, we're getting the Patriots and Bills up in Buffalo, two teams that have been atop the division for the last 16 years. Buffalo off to a 4-0 start, while the Pats 2-2. Well, that record's best four-game start to a season since 2020. They have something in Drake Maye there. He'll have a lot to prove in primetime on Sunday night. Let's talk about good investments, though. If you're a Bills fan with season tickets, you haven't seen a home loss since 2023. They're riding a 14-game win streak there in Orchard Park. One more, and they'll tie a franchise record set in the early 90s. Bills are rocking the longest active home win streak right now in the NFL. CBS Sports NFL writer Tyler Sullivan joining us here on a Friday to preview Sunday Night Football. Now, you can't say Josh Allen's name anymore without mentioning he's the reigning MVP, Tyler. Is he on track, though, to keep that crown?
Yeah, I think so, especially to the injury with Lamar Jackson and not knowing his status for the next few weeks. I think this is an avenue here for Josh Allen to really kind of take an inside lane more so than he already had and run away with this thing, because the stage is set here on a couple of different fronts, right? Obviously, Josh Allen, the production we know is going to be there, but whenever you go on an MVP run, you have to check certain boxes along the way, and one of them is thriving in prime time. And so far, we've seen him do that twice this year, and we see the numbers that he puts up: 7 total touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He has been lights out in terms of the brightest stages that the regular season can offer, can add to that on Sunday night. And then even on top of that, more often than not, you need to be a number 1 or a number 2 seed in your conference. You look at this Buffalo Bills schedule the rest of the way, it's one of the easier schedules in the NFL. I look at this team, yeah, they're 4-0 right now, but you're talking about 12, 13 wins, maybe even higher than that because of the schedule, because of the elite play they're getting at quarterback, on defense. So he's going to have a real compelling case at MVP once the season's done.
And to make things a little bit more difficult, or who knows, maybe they actually get some help here. The Patriots defensive tackle, Milton Williams, returned to practice today. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. So how important is it in terms of trying to stop not just Josh Allen there, but running back James Cook, who's having a nice year too?
Yeah, it's massive. If you can have Milton Williams, your big offseason acquisition, in the interior of that defensive line alongside Christian Barmore, that tag team effort could go a long way in really slowing down what has grown to be a strength of this Buffalo Bills offense. Of course, as you referenced, Josh Allen's going to be a factor with his legs, but let's not sleep on James Cook, who has just been absolutely insane, either leading the league or number 2 in the NFL in terms of rushing touchdowns and rushing yards through the first month of the season. But this is going to be an interesting test for them. The New England Patriots run defense actually pretty good. You talk about them allowing around 77.5 rushing yards per game. That's the second fewest in the NFL coming out of the first month. So we're going to kind of see a strength on strength here. And the fact that they at least might have Milton Williams, again, questionable. We'll see what his status is. Was able to practice today, so that's an encouraging sign for his status for Sunday night. But the fact that they might have their star defensive player on that interior will give them a puncher's chance in slowing down that rushing attack.
If that is strength on strength, then, Tyler, who has the edge in that matchup?
I still think the great equalizer is Josh Allen, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, James Cook is going to be your traditional back in terms of, going between the tackles and things like that. And he really had some explosive plays throughout this season. But when things get a little hairy and all of a sudden you have your lumbering MVP quarterback also able to make plays with his legs, I think that could be the equalizer there. We've seen them kind of struggle against rushing quarterbacks in the past. So I think that is where they gain the edge because of Josh Allen.
Now, familiar face is coming back to Buffalo. Stefon Diggs makes his return after getting traded to Houston in 2024. What do you think this return trip means to Diggs? And is he starting to catch his footing with the Pats offense after putting up a 100-yard performance last week?
Yeah, I think so. And I think this is one of those scenarios where, yeah, of course, you want to kind of go into your old stomping grounds and show your old team what you're missing. The relationship between the Buffalo Bills and Stefon Diggs did seem to deteriorate in the final months of him with the organization before he was traded to the Houston Texans. So naturally, you would think that this is, I don't know if I want to call it a revenge spot or a spite spot. Maybe that's a better way to kind of go at this thing, better way to label it. But I think that's what it is. I think Stefon Diggs probably wants to go into Buffalo and say, hey, I'm still that dude that was averaging well over 100 catches per season while I was with this organization, and it just wasn't because I was with Josh Allen. I'm now doing it with another quarterback in Drake Maye, and the timing here, and you can see the number last week, the timing here is really interesting. He went over 100 yards for the first time this season last week. He's been playing a little bit more in the slot, which I think is interesting. I think maybe that's an area where maybe they're trying to finally find a way to unlock him in their offense, the New England Patriots, with Josh McDaniels running the show. So I think this is a great spot for him in terms of coming back to Buffalo, hot off his best game of the season, and he's now with a young quarterback that consistently can get him the football. So we might see a Stefon Diggs of old at Orchard Park that fans are quite used to.
I think it's like when you see your ex, you just want to prove you're doing all right, you know? I think that's all it is. But hey, his new quarterback, Drake Maye, straw that stirs a drink right now for that offense there in New England. What do you make of the jump he's making so far from year 1 to year 2?
It's exactly what you would want to see if you're the New England Patriots. There were glimpses of this last year, but it's tough to kind of see between the 4-13 season with the New England Patriots, the lack of talent around Drake Maye. You really couldn't really determine, okay, is this a guy we're going to build around? How is it going to look? And what they've been able to do this offseason, surround him with a capable coaching staff, surround him with weapons like Stefon Diggs, Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson even coming back as well, fixing the offensive line, a stout defense on the other side. You can get a clearer picture of who this guy is. And through the first month, he is not just looking good for a second-year quarterback. You look at some of those numbers there. He is up there with some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, you peel it a little bit back. I think that you still see a raw, still developing quarterback. I don't know if those numbers necessarily tell you that he is, the elite of elite quarterbacks. I don't know if that's necessarily who he is right now, but you're seeing flashes. You're seeing glimpses of him really develop as one of the bright young quarterbacks in the NFL. So a big picture for the New England Patriots in terms of 2025, you want to come out of it with Drake Maye as your clear-cut, set and forget, not just franchise cornerstone, but possible superstar quarterback. Through 1 month of that in Denver, you're feeling pretty good about where you sit.
Are the numbers for Drake Maye, though, a little bit inflated considering he went up against the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Panthers, the Raiders here? Or do you say, hey, you're supposed to do those things against those teams?
Right, you're supposed to do those things against inferior teams. If you're struggling against the Carolina Panthers and the Miami Dolphins, well then we have some bigger questions to kind of really attack Drake Maye with. But I do think it's a little bit inflated. Again, of course, you see those numbers against inferior opponents, and not to take anything away from him, but there are some warts every now and again. There's always feels like 1 or 2 throws from Drake Maye, or 1 or 2 instances in a game where maybe a little bit careless with the football, maybe throws it into a little bit of a tighter window that you would like, and maybe deals with some turnovers. Obviously, go back to that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The whole team had 5 total turnovers. He was part of that problem. So that's a 1-score game that you lost and you committed 5 turnovers. If you were a little bit more efficient with the football, you're talking about a better record coming into this game, and we could start to have different conversations. But they're 2-2. This is going to be a big test for him. I look at Drake Maye going into Orchard Park. This is probably, without question, actually, the biggest game of his young career. Primetime Sunday Night Football against your main division rival, and you have been playing some really good football. So if you can go into Orchard Park and continue that, the narrative around the Patriots is going to change.
Tyler Sullivan, thank you so much. And speaking of that narrative, this is what he's talking about. The Buffalo Bills have the second best record in prime time since 2018, 21-8. But if Drake Maye can turn that fine print down there, which New England has lost 5 of the last 7 Sunday night games, if they can get some more wins there, maybe there will be more proof in Drake Maye and who he is as a quarterback. All right, coming up, now that we've set the table for Sunday Night Football, it's time now to act now. Mackenzie Brooks joins us next with the latest lines from that Bills and Pats game that's coming up in prime time. All right, welcome back. Tyler Sullivan just gave us the X's and O's of what to expect for Sunday Night Football between the Bills and the Patriots. Mackenzie Brooks here to tell us how to act on those X's and O's. And let's act now before some of these lines change. James Cook was a big topic of conversation just now, but let's not talk rushing yards. Let's talk receiving yards. What do you got for him, and what do you want to see?
Yeah, so you notice that this receiving yard line opened up at 14.5. Consensus right now is around 15.5. I do think that this could get a little bit higher as Sunday night approaches, so I would get on this now. We have him projected for 19 points in our model, or 19 yards in our model, and that's because this is something trending up for him. Not only did he put up 40 plus in the AFC Championship, 58 against the Ravens in week 1, he's still trending up from that week 3 on. He finishes with 18 last weekend as well. So this is just something we're asking him to do, what he typically does, and we have him doing it projected with less snaps in the game than odds makers are implying. So if we're even seeing this over, and we don't even have him for as many snaps as odds makers, that's typically a good sign. But again, you see right there the 58 against the Ravens and then 18 versus the Saints. I could see a very similar situation as to last week here.
Yeah, keep calling his number, and that'll make that prediction
and maybe
work
a
out.
touchdown sprinkle there as well.
Hey, not
never
bad.
hurt.
Not bad. Let's talk about a rookie running back for the Patriots, Travion Henderson. We're going to do a little combo here. Why do you like the combo yards for him?
Because I think this could be the quote-unquote breakout game for him. And I say breakout, I mean, he's still been 3-1 to the over of this 44.5 rushing and receiving yards. This is something I absolutely could see steaming up 5-6 yards by the time game time comes. It's already steamed up from its opening line here. I do think, even if Ramondre Stevenson is starting, I do think from a production standpoint, he's going to be RB1A, right? We saw Ashton Genty have his breakout. I just think with the ball security, that's basically what they drafted him for. You know, we're always seeing fumbles from Ramondre Stevenson in the past few seasons, but again, he's hit this in 3 of his last 4 games here. All it takes is one long run for him to really hit this, one explosive play. We have him for 10.5 snaps. I do think you're going to see maybe more, and you could get this within even 7 carries.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about the game as a whole. The line set right now at -8.5 in favor of the Bills. Obviously, they love to play Sunday night football, but if you're going to act now on that line, how are you acting?
I think you need to get it now at the 8.5. I think this goes up to 9, maybe 10 by game time. This opened at 7.5, so you see that people are already on this already. Listen, from a model perspective, we have the projected score: Bills 34, New England Patriots 19. I know my producer Boney is not going to want to hear that, but this is what a model sees. You see them just putting up 31, 31, 30, 41 points on these teams that they've played so far, even averaging 33 at home last season. They've gone over 28.5, 7 of their last 9 games. So most of this spread value is coming from the Bills going over their team total. I know that we're seeing the strong Patriots defense, but let's think about the quarterbacks I was against. You have Tua and Bryce, who don't even reach Josh Allen's chin, and then you have 2 old guys that can't move, and Geno and Aaron Rodgers. So this is definitely going to be the best quarterback they've seen by miles. Do I think they can put up a good fight? Yes, but do I think the Bills can still put up their typical 30 to 35 points and cover the spread? I do.
As an old guy who can't move myself anymore, took a little offense to that one. By the way, I'll give you one guess. You said Pat's money line in my ear just now.
Yeah. He really doesn't like when the model disagrees with him.
No, he does not. Mackenzie, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun. All right, for more inside the lines, for the best projections, best prices, and of course, best bet, use that QR code on your screen or go to cbssports.com/ITL.